in the contract a legal requirement every single time we appear on camera. Just making sure that the lawyers are happy that the boxes have been ticked. They have seen one bicep there, and there's the second one there. The man to my left, it could be to your right, depending on what sort of screen you are looking at. It is the co-host, the co-founder, the co-breather of air, the co-wearer of clothes in this virtual room. It is the master of disaster, the king of sting, the count of Monte Cristo. It is the Siberian bull. It is the winner of the Dave Stockbridge of the Year award. It is none other than your friend and mine. It is Dave Stockbridge. Stockbridge, welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that very warm welcome as always. You're here with me and I'm here with you one more time. This is beautiful. It's been a week. It's been a little bit too long, Hollywood Matt Connelly. It's lovely to have you back in the hot seat as always. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce the man on screen. I'm going to try some South African here, some Afrikaans. Lekker om jou te ontmoet. Maybe it didn't work.
But you've
was the effect of my Afrikaans so good that it froze the screen? Maybe that's what it is.
You better say it again just so unfreeze him.
Lekker om jou te ontmoet.
Oh,
no. It froze on us. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Terence Opperman. He is having some technical difficulties. I believe he's out in the field. He's just scarpered into a room so that he can get some internet going for us, but he is struggling right now. It looks like the screen has frozen and he has dropped out. So lekker om jou te ontmoet means frozen internet in Afrikaans, if you were wondering. There he is.
Back.
He's
hey.
back. Lekker om jou te ontmoet. Oh no. We might have to I'm hoping we're almost there.
Okay, I think it's a little bit more stable now.
Beautiful. Lekker om jou te ontmoet.
Self-divide, don't you? Afrikaans is getting there. You had some lessons from Rickert, or what's going on here?
Rickert and Grant, they've been coaching me a little bit. I did actually ask for a lengthy introduction. I sent them a message and said, okay, Terence is coming on. I want to give him a good Afrikaans welcome. And I said, I spelled it out. It was about a paragraph. And Rickert said, I thought you were wanting a sentence. That's a bit of a story, eh? I don't think you're going to make that happen. So, and then Grant gave me that one line, and it took me 3 days to learn it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Terence Opperman is on the screen right now. Of course, he's a arm wrestling legend from South Africa, one of the top handful of men on the table in the world just before COVID. Post-COVID, had a bit of a hiatus and is now back on the biggest tables in the world, having recently featured on Neil Pickup's Arm Wars and showing the world what he's got one more time. So, well, welcome back to top tier competition, Terence.
Just repeat that last sentence, please. You were breaking up a little bit there.
Sure. No worries. Welcome back to top tier competition. How does it feel to be back on the tables and traveling the world once again in the world of arm wrestling?
Yeah, it feels great. I've been doing it for so long. I think it's now 20 years I've been arm wrestling. So I miss the international stage, but to travel from South Africa, from Europe, very expensive. So for other guys, they travel 1 hour, they have the world championships, they compete. And for me, it's 14 to 17 hours, it's 30,000 Rand. That's a lot of money for us. And because once you get on the stage, you feel comfortable, you it's like your home. That's where you want to be.
Absolutely. And it is really hard for athletes from those more isolated places like South Africa and Australia, the Pacific region, where you do have such a long flight, but you've also got such a small pool of people to train with. And so you must have some pretty good training partners over there to keep your sword sharp.
Yeah, the problem with South Africa is we stay far apart. So it's like to get a proper training session, you have to drive an hour. And to drive an hour every day is impossible. So maybe once a week, but it's still expensive to travel as well. So when we get together, we have some good, strong guys. There's a lot of strong guys in South Africa. I'm still trying to get everybody together, take them to East versus West qualifications. We've been there once, 2023, and we were 5 guys and we got 5 medals or something like that. So it's not too bad. So yeah, I think soon we'll get back to East versus West qualifications again.
So how regularly do you get table time with other top tier guys?
Not a lot. Actually, only at after schools. I used to travel to Pretoria once a week for 5 years, but that was back in 2006. So now we only pull together on after pools and stuff like that. I have one guy, John McKechnie. He comes to train to me once a month. So that's good. And then I have Gerard van Staden. He's a strong. So he also comes to Witbank from time to time. So he's in the sport now 3 years, but so incredibly strong. I think he's ranked now number 3 in South Africa on the left.
So how did you get your start in the sport then?
I went to the grocery store one day and he said I can win $1,000. And he won the arm wrestle, and I was like, yo, let me go try. So I went there and I got the SA title, and then I
Wow. And I guess the rest has been history for you since then. And so once you worked out that you were pretty handy on the table, was it easy to connect with the local club? Like how did that work back then? Were there even arm wrestling clubs anywhere near you at that point in time? Seems to be a delay. I'm not sure if you heard me that time, but I was just asking, when you worked out that you did love the sport, how easy was it for you to then find an arm wrestling club in South Africa back then?
While we're waiting for Terence's internet to kick back on, we can see here him competing here at East versus West against Reno Masic, and Terence obviously getting some amazing pins on some of the best arm wrestlers that have ever stepped foot onto the table. And yeah, he's no slouch. A lot of people don't know that this sleeping giant exists, but he is a formidable force coming out of South Africa.
And I think we saw him before pinning John Brezink. I mean, there's no doubt that Terence Opperman is a world-class athlete. And I think people do underestimate how hard it is for an athlete like Terence, even though he's obviously gifted, he's very talented, but when you are so isolated and there's such a shallow pool of athletes to train with, and when you do train with them, there's such a tyranny of distance. You've got to travel hours in order to do, or in order just to find these people to train with. It makes you all the more admire what they've been able to achieve in the sport. And in a country like South Africa, there aren't tremendous resources. There's not great infrastructure, especially in the regional areas. Driving for hours can often mean driving on dirt roads for hours, and so it's all the more amazing that athletes like Terence are able to emerge out of those environments and take on the best in the world. And so there's one thing's for sure, and that is that Terence is world class. He, as you heard earlier, he's been now arm wrestling for about 20 years, and since realizing early on that he had a gift, he had a talent for the sport, he set himself the ambition of competing internationally. And we've seen some imagery from the last 10 or so years of Terence on the table, right up until relatively recently as well. And for fans of Arm Wars, you would have more recently seen Terence on the table featured on Neil's promotion and performing admirably. I'd love to know how old Terence is now, because I mean, if he's been now training for 20 or so years, I would imagine he'd be in his 40s. And last night we heard from Rickert Borman say that he has never gripped up with anybody who feels like Terence Opperman, and that it's a different level. And so when somebody like Rickert Borman is saying that, you start to get an understanding that if a man can bring awe to Rickert Borman, then you're really dealing with somebody very, very special. And he's back
absolutely.
on now.
Well, he was, but
He's flickering in and out. I think
bit,
Terence is in a regional area as well, and he's just jumped into to a bar or a sporting club there, just to be able to pick up on some internet, because he was having difficulties connecting with his cellular network, and this was a difficulty he was experiencing the other night. We're going to persist, because it's rare that we have somebody of Terence's caliber on the channel, so we feel particularly blessed that he's here. So we'll give him all the time he needs to jump back on, and maybe we can just jump to the comments whilst we're waiting for the big man to get himself set.
How are we going, Terence? You're back. Can you hear us this time?
Yes, I hope I stay back now. It's not going.
Yes.
All right.
So good.
I think it's
I was asking before, Terence, like, what was the arm wrestling scene like when you started in South Africa? How easy was it for you to find a club? That is literally the question that broke the internet. I want that to be noted.
That was your It was your Afrikaans that broke.
That's
right. We've got an interesting comment here from Kenneth Tharati, I believe it. He says there is only one Highlander. Armdruk is good. Number one, which I believe is arm wrestling is big. We would like South Africa top 10 left and right to compete against Australia and New Zealand at the year's end. That would be great for the sport. Absolutely.
It would be great for the sport, Kenneth. I love that suggestion. It is something that's popped up on several occasions, and for all of our friends from the Commonwealth countries, where there's always been quite a rivalry in a number of sports between our very friendly countries, whether it's cricket or rugby. The reality is that the Commonwealth countries love competing against each other and working out who is the best. And South Africa and Australia over the years have had a particular rivalry, and we would be very, very keen to see the South Africans on the AWE arm wrestling tables. And of course, we've got quite the contingent from New Zealand with Charles Puri and Matai Rungi. It would be fantastic to see those guys find a number 3 and maybe put them against a top 3 from Australia and a top 3 from South Africa. And it sounds like there's quite the appetite amongst the fans for that as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see it, absolutely. And one of our good friends, Grant Law, from the SA Titans, who's in the chat at the moment, he's from South Africa, and said that when he went back there recently, that the level that these guys are at is just astronomically high, and but the ability to compete in tournaments around the world is just so difficult. So you got these absolute monsters that are just sitting in this country that are undiscovered, that have this ability which they don't get to display very often.
Well, I think I was talking to Raymond from New Caledonia the other day, and he was talking about one of his athletes, 190 kilograms. So, and he showed me a photo, and he didn't look that big because everybody else around him must have been weighing about 160. You know, so you've got these unearthed talents from around the world, and South Africa is one of those places where there's some huge men with massive potential that the world just hasn't found yet.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, we're lucky enough to see Rickard Bornman make his way over to Australia, and
Terence is back.
He's back. One of the questions, Terence, from Dominic Lawrence here, he's asked, do you remember what year that you first pulled Rickard? Which I think there is footage of that, but you won the match. I remember seeing the footage, but Rickard put up a decent fight. Was there anything where you went, oh, this guy's got some potential future championship material?
Nee, Matties. Hoe gaan het? Ja.
Well, I'm hoping somebody's buying him a beer right now.
Yeah.
So
I'm hoping they're plugging a LAN cable into his laptop. Unfortunately, we're getting some issues with Terence. He's obviously there's some connection issues with the South African network over there.
There we go.
Hello, we are here.
Yep. We'll hang in for you, Terence.
Can you guys?
I
must keep my video now.
Okay,
right.
that
Sounds
might work
good.
well. We'll be playing some imagery
because every time the video goes out of the door.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Okay, so we were asking 20 years ago when you started in arm wrestling. Was it easy to find a club? Was there any kind of arm wrestling scene around at the time?
Yeah, so 5 there was a big club in Pretoria. That's where everybody started. So there was a guy with the name Armand de Toy, from Dani de Toy, Willie Botha. You guys probably heard about the Vet Botha. So that was the guys what ran. So obviously we didn't know anything yet by then, but I think you were in the same boat, because I think Australia came on board, I think 2009 or something.
Yeah, and what's the scene like now? Has it evolved? Are you seeing more interest, more clubs popping up around the country?
Yes, no, definitely. I think we had more than 100 entries at the regionals in the Pretoria area.
Wow.
So it's quite big now. I think nationals will probably, if I guess, be around 200 maybe.
Wow, that's huge.
That's massive.
And you've been number one for a very, very long time.
Huge.
You've certainly been the man to beat. I'm guessing that all the young fellas in South Africa, as they start to arm wrestle, their first thing is, I want to be able to beat Terence Opperman one day. That's their big goal. Have you got any up and coming talent that's getting closer?
Yeah, yes, there's a lot. And if I'm gonna start naming the people and I'm gonna miss somebody, we're gonna my life. So it's gonna be difficult to name everybody, but there's definitely some really strong. There's a guy called Connelly. He was number one in South Africa, 2014 to 2016, I think. I might have my dates wrong, but he was very strong top roller. And then we have a guy with the name Quiz. He's like he's
And we've got some footage on the screen right now of you with Devon Larratt. And I was just going to ask, you've had the opportunity to pull some of the biggest names in the world. When you've grouped up with some of these guys, who's really impressed you?
Oh, he's dropped.
That question was really impressive, apparently. So well, let's just flick through the comments whilst we're waiting. There were some really good comments flowing through, Matt.
There is. I mean, obviously, people are big fans of Terence. Then we are struggling at the moment, but that's okay. We'll chat to the people that are in here. Grant Law says there is a far smaller pool of athletes in Australia. There are several clubs within an hour's drive in Johannesburg, whereas the closest club to the SA Titans is much further away. It's quite interesting. Yeah,
I guess Grant's got that ability. He's been very close to both scenes over the last few years, so he's got some wonderful insights as to the growth of the sport in both countries.
My favorite part of Grant going back to South Africa and wanting to visit one of the clubs there was that they thought that he was at this real high level because there was footage of him on the table against Ryan Bowen, which was in a tournament. And
okay, I think we've got Terence back on audio here, so I might just get this turned up and. Here we go.
Let's go that way.
I think here we go. We've got him. So I think that's going to. Yeah, I think that's going to work beautifully. So I'll keep you close here, and I might have to repeat some questions if they come through from Matt. I'll just try and turn that up a little bit so Matt can be heard as well. So Terence, we were just running through some of the comments. We were just talking about the scene there in South Africa, and Grant Law was just mentioning that it seems that the scene is vibrant and very much growing in South Africa, and that the quality and the caliber of the athlete is really high, and in Grant's opinion, even higher than that than in Australia. When you look across the depth of talent that you've got there in South Africa, you've really had the ability to jump on the international tables for some of the biggest names in the sport. Who has really impressed you when you've jumped on the table with them? That first impression, whether it's a big hand or a strong wrist or something, who when you've jumped on the table has kind of made a big impression on you?
I have to say, I think it's Tim Bresnan.
So,
one year at Zloty, at the World Cup, I went to Neil and I asked him, should I hook them or should I top roll him? And he said, mate, it doesn't really matter. And I was like, what? What does that mean? So I tried to top roll him, and he opened my arm completely. I was almost in a king's move after he beat me. I was like,
wow. Tim Bresnan, there you go. And that's a name that.
After that.
Yep. Go on.
See if I can find that match.
Yeah, I think we just.
Say again.
So we're just bringing the match up on the screen. So you were just saying that Tim Bresnan was one of those names, and you were about to mention somebody else.
Yeah, no, I was wanted to say the next year I went there, I was like, okay, this year I'm gonna hook him. So let's see what happens. So he let me get into my hook, and I nodded at him and I said, okay, you can go now. You won't go through my hook. And it's like, he went right through my hook like I was nothing. It's like, this guy is so strong. So I think he was one of the most underrated arm wrestlers because he was so strong back in the day.
Yeah, just a natural giant, and it seems that when you get to that top level, you are competing against natural giants. You're competing against guys that are 6'5", they're 300 plus pounds, they're just huge human beings. And I mean, you're a big guy, but I wouldn't necessarily classify you in that category.
Yeah, so in one of my interviews after the match at Almond, I told Neil, why are you always looking for the biggest opponent for me? So we just had a laugh on stage there. But so I like to compete against, especially in super matches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And have you got any opponents that are planned for 2025?
Say again?
Have you got anybody planned? Have you got anybody in your sights? Are there any arm wrestlers that you've got in mind to compete against in this year?
No, definitely. I would like to have a match with Lachlan Adier.
Oh, yes. Yeah. That would be a good match.
And also I would like to have a match with Sandra Sedes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there's a few other names out there as well, but I would really, if I have the opportunity and I get invited again, I think that will be great.
Very cool. Yeah.
Also, I won't mind pulling against Lars because he's number 10 in the 115 kilogram class.
Yeah.
At the East versus West. So that will also be a good starting point for me.
Yeah. Yep. Just start at the top 10, work your way down to number 1 in the end. That's the way. and you, because you
my first match was with the number 1. It's like, that's not fair.
And you've really been in the mix. You've been in that talk, the top 5, top 10 in the world for now the best part of the last decade or so. And where do you find your drive? What's pushing you forward? I mean, you're at an age now where if you're retired from the sport, you've achieved a lot. You've been at the top of the tree for a long time. People wouldn't think worse of you. But what's stoking your fire now?
Yes, I would love to do arm wrestling full time. I know there's guys out there doing it, but in South Africa, it's not possible. We don't have the sponsors behind us to do something like that.
Yeah.
But I would like to. My closest to world championship was 2012 when I got second place, but I was like 5 millimeters from the pin pad. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but. So that was how close I got to world championships. 1 year I beat Ivan Matyashenko and Murev in the same class, and then I lost against Lukdan Vitala, and then I lost against Armin Chaplenko or something, and then Ivan won that day. So my first match was against him. So I had some good opportunities to become world champion, but every time it didn't go in my favor. So I think I would like to do world championships one more time and give it a go, see if I can get a gold medal.
Yeah.
I have so many second and third medals, but I think it's time for a gold medal there. And then also I would really like to be more at East versus West. I love putting at Arm Wars. Arm Wars is like my home for international arm wrestling. So yeah, I would really like to do more.
Yeah,
we're watching that right now. You versus Michael Todd at Arm Wars.
Yeah, you versus Michael Todd on Arm Wars is what's on the screen right now. Matt was just mentioning, and perhaps Matt, we can go to the comments and just filter through that. If you've got, I think I saw Laz Boyter in the comments just a short time ago, another South African that's made his way over to Australia.
Yes, the South African telecommunications can't keep up with the power that is coming through the telephone line of Terence Opperman. So we've had some interesting comments here. Mr. Peanut has he says the Arnold Classic Africa has been rescheduled to May 2025 in South Africa. I haven't confirmed arm wrestling at the event yet. What news do you have of this?
Have you heard about the Arnold Classic in South Africa in May, and whether arm wrestling might be involved?
Yes, I did hear about a competition.
Okay. There you go, Mr. Peanut. There is some word that there may be a competition going on there as part of the Arnold's event. So that would be great for arm wrestling fans and just generally strength fans who are going to be down there at the event anyway. It's good for them to be able to jump on the table. Great for the sport to get some crossover appeal as well. And another comment here, again, which South African so the question is, which South African have you lost to most recently, if anybody, and whether that was on right or left?
I lost against Quest now, I think 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, Quest, he beat me quite easily.
And was that on left or right? Terence does want to say. He's staying quiet on that one.
It was on both.
It was on both. We are struggling a little bit with the telecommunications. It is a shame because Terence is a great champion. He's a great ambassador of the sport. He's a great South African and somebody we've been really looking forward to talking to more. Oh, he's coming back, I think. Maybe not. There was just a glimmer of telecommunications hope there, Hollywood. But we're almost, we're at about half an hour, and this is your 5 night a week, half an hour dose of all things arm wrestling, where we bring you some of the best up and coming talent and also some of the legends of the sport. And sometimes those legends of the sport are in the comments. As a matter of fact, they are most nights, and they come in the form of the Drew, Mr. Peanut. Tonight we got Laz Boyter. We've got Grant Law as always. Dominic Lorenz is always joining us. Also, Kenneth has dropped into the chat as well. So thank you very much to all of you. We love that you join us here on Arm Wrestling tonight. Thank you for coming in and dropping a comment there. If you have dropped a comment and we haven't addressed you, we apologize. We will. Is there anybody we're missing out on before we say good night?
Well, we've got Chris from Intrinsic Media has jumped in to say hello, and he's very excited about the upcoming Grand Prix event, the AWE Grand Prix 3, which will be taking place here in Adelaide on the 23rd of March, featuring some of the best pullers in the Oceanic region at under 85 kilos.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely great. I'm hoping we can. Terence might be here just in time to say goodbye. Maybe we've answered the call, and maybe not.
Maybe not.
Okay. Well, we want to thank Terence for his patience. We know it's very, very frustrating when you try and jump onto a podcast like this and it doesn't run smoothly. And we know that he had a lot more to share than what he did. And I'm sure once Terence is back in range and a little bit closer to some high quality internet, he will be back in and joining us here on Arm Wrestling tonight. So thank you to everybody in the comments. Thank you to Terence for being our guest.
Hello.
Oh, he's back.
How did he do that? There we go.
I don't know. Now it's working again. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Terence, we were just running through the comments before we head off, but ultimately Terence, it was wonderful to hear what your plans are for 2025. It's great to see that you're still active. It's great to see you're very much the patriarch of the South African arm wrestling scene, and we know that so many people look up to you there and around the world, and we can't wait to see you back on the international stage very, very soon, taking on the best and proving to the whole world that South Africa's still got a whole lot to offer when it comes to arm wrestling.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Fantastic, mate. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for your persistence. We know how frustrating it is when the technology works against you, and we're just so happy that you made the effort. And we're sure next time you're a little bit closer to better internet, we'll get together and do this one more time and give everybody the show that they've been waiting for, because the minute that we announced that you were going to be on the podcast, it did create a stir and a whole lot of excitement amongst arm wrestling fans, not just from South Africa but from around the world, and especially here in Australia, where you've got quite the following here. I think there's a bit of a South African fan base here, and they love you, they love Ricket, they love to see South Africans do well, and they're very parochial, and we love seeing them out at the events. So mate, we can't wait until we can have you on again. And to everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. Hollywood Matt Connelly, thank you. Any final thoughts before we go away?
We're just finished with a double bicep right there, just to finish it off.
I've got to get some better lighting. There we go.
Whoa, okay, out. Oh, and he's back.
Oh, Terence, have you got a double bicep for us before we go away? There we go.
Oh, there we go. That's perfect. That's all we needed. That's all we needed.
Just in time. Perfect timing. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, everyone. We'll be bringing you more arm wrestling tonight, tomorrow night.